end consumers, Facebook is probably a better choice. Duke is asking me how I usually reach out to people. My rule of thumb is that you have to follow two different pieces of advice. The first one is you have to write something personal. That means you can't send the same canned response to every person. I usually spend about 10 to 15 minutes learning about the person and reading their blog posts and checking out their Twitter accounts if they have, and trying to learn as much as I can from them before I send them any message. So again, the first rule is that you have to personalize your message. The second rule is that you have to be unique in the way you approach people. And you have to provide value, and actually providing value is what makes your message unique. So again, when I do all this research, I start thinking, how can I help this person? Instead of how I can benefit from this person, I start thinking how I can help this person. And I usually approach them and I'm like, hey, you were asking this question about marketing a company on Twitter, and I have a few ideas for you. Would you like to talk over the phone for maybe 5 minutes and so I can share these ideas with you? Always play the curiosity card. When you make people curious, they'll always want to know more. Virgil is asking me how long I've been doing this before I started seeing results. It's very hard to answer that because this kind of scales up, but I would say about 6 months before people actually started noticing who I was, and they started subscribing to my blog and checking out my stuff and actually started paying attention to me. But it all scales up. You start getting some exposure from day one, and then that kind of scales up, and eventually, if you keep doing things right, you'll reach enough people and they'll see the value in your content. Kevin is asking me a really good question. He's asking, how do you go from just for fun to let's make a deal? Well, my first goal is always to build a good relationship. And I don't care about transactions in that stage. I meet with people without any agenda. I just meet with them and try to have a good time. And sometimes, I would say that 99% of the time, people ask you what you do for a living. It's part of our human interaction. People ask you what your name is, and then they ask you what you do for a living. And if they're curious, they're going to ask you more, and you can, try to. I think the key is to try to talk about what you do without trying to make it sound like a sales pitch. Try to stay away from making it sound like a sales pitch, and people will be more interested. And again, if you direct the conversation towards helping them and what they do and how you can connect them with potential clients, I think they're going to be a lot more excited that if you start saying, hey, this is what I do, this is what my company does, this is what I sell, they'll be like, hey, this guy invited me for coffee, but he was actually trying to sell me something. Jan is asking me, what's a LinkedIn open networker and what are the benefits of being an open networker? This is basically someone who accepts every invitation they get their way, and they also invite other people all the time. You can usually see that these people have, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000 connections. My guess is that they don't talk to any of them ever. And I would rather have 50 connections that I know who they are, and I know that I can reach them and they're going to answer the phone if I call, than having 5,000 people that don't even know who I am. So of course there's some value in being connected to a lot of people, but I feel it's a lot more important to actually pay attention to the people you're connected with and trying to work on those relationships so you can take them to the next level. Lori is asking me how much time a week do I spend on LinkedIn? Well, this is kind of a tricky question because I have people who help me with my LinkedIn. But if I had to do everything myself, I would say about 5 hours per week, 3 to 5 hours per week. Mike is asking me if you had to start a group to create a new event, and the answer is no. You can create an event just having an individual profile. What's the best way to promote a webinar on LinkedIn? This is Mark asking. 2 different ways. The first one is to use the groups, join a lot of groups and send that as an announcement or discussion. I mean, you can start a new discussion and put a link to your webinar. That's one thing. And the other one is to put it as a LinkedIn event. I show you how to create an event. So I usually do both. Someone's asking me how much time a day I spend on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Where for LinkedIn, I said about 5 hours a week. Twitter, I would say maybe 1 hour a week. In Facebook, I spend a lot of time on Facebook. I would say maybe 5-6 hours a week. But that's because I don't use Facebook just to connect with potential clients or it's not business related for me. It's usually to connect with friends. A few people are asking questions about Twitter and Facebook, and I've done webinars for Facebook and Twitter marketing, and they're both on my blog. So let me go back to my blog. That's my blog right here. So you can check it out, and I actually have the videos for the webinars I've done right there. A couple of people are asking how many connections you should have. Well, again, it's all about quality, not quantity, in my opinion. Joe is asking me if you should use the free LinkedIn account or the paid ones. I have the paid ones, even though I don't need them, but because I mean, LinkedIn gives me so much value that I feel like I want to help LinkedIn somehow, and it's only like 15 bucks a month. But if you don't approach a lot of people you've never seen before, I think that the free account will do for maybe 99% of people. Duke is asking me for what specifically do I say when I meet with people so it doesn't sound like a sales pitch. Well, I mean, I start asking them about what they do. I don't ever talk about what I do unless they ask. Here's the catch. They always ask. And when they ask what I do, I tell them, well, I have an online marketing agency. We help companies make money online. We can help them rank high on Google. And we can also promote them on YouTube, LinkedIn. I mean, this is basically, I just tell them what I do. 50% of the time they say, oh, that's good. And if that's their response, I take the conversation back to what they do. The other 50% of the time, they want to know more. So they start asking questions. And I usually answer the questions in a way that I give them information that is not biased at all. I just tell them what I do. I mean, if they say, oh, that's good. What kind of companies can you help? Or how much do your services cost? Or, they ask a lot of questions, and every case is different. My rule is to try to talk about them as much as possible and about me as little as possible. Okay. I guess that's it. I tried to answer as many questions as possible. I think I see here that I got 192 questions, but for the sake of everybody on the call, I tried to answer as many as possible, but I can't answer them all. Well, thank you guys for being on the call. I think the next webinar is going to be Google Analytics. I think it's a very interesting topic because most people install it, but they can read the basics, but they don't really know what's happening with their websites. And Google Analytics can tell you so much about why people are buying from you, why people are not buying from you, why where your traffic is coming from, how people find you, what keywords they usually use. I mean, there's just so much information, and I feel every person who has a website can really benefit from really knowing the more advanced ways to use Google Analytics. So again, thank you for being on the call. Have a great day, and have a very, very happy and successful 2011. Let's stay in touch. Take care. Bye.